Hello everybody and welcome to another top 10 board gaming video. Today's topic is all about the most anticipated games of 2021. Now before you think that this is another one of my personal videos about what I'm excited about, this is more similar to the People's Choice solo games that I talked about a little while ago, where it's voted on by BoardGameGeek users. In this particular case, it's another tradition where every year people vote to say what the most exciting games are for that particular year, and that's what this is. There's a whole bunch of different categories with lots and lots of games available, and what I did is I took the overall category and took the top 10 with the most votes. And so I'm essentially going to talk about them. I'm excited about some of them. Others I'm a little bit lukewarm on, but either way, we're going to go through them. And of course, as always, I'm curious what you guys have to say. Overall, what do you think of the list? I've linked it in the description below. Are there games that you're particularly excited about? Do you think that some got snubbed? Do you think that some are overrated? Let me know in the comments below. But with that, we are going to jump right on in with number 10. At number 10, we've got the Terraforming Mars Big Box. I'm not a fan of big boxes. I appreciate the fact that they're coming out because the idea is that you can hold all the expansions and stuff, and in this particular case you do get 3D terrain tiles, which is kind of nice and pretties it up a little bit, but I just don't particularly like them as a thing that you have to purchase separately. Don't get me wrong, I have done it, but it's just not something that's for me personally. That said, the people have spoken, and it is number 10. At number 9, we've got Ankh, Gods of Egypt. This is the most recent one from Cool Mini or Not that comes to us courtesy of Eric Lang, the very prolific and highly successful game designer of things like Rising Sun and a whole bunch of other stuff. So this is a very similar game to Rising Sun in that in this case you are playing as a deity of the Egyptian mythology, and you're going through doing area control, card-based combat, summoning monsters, all sorts of different stuff like that. And I will admit, I did back this one. I am very excited about it. I love Egyptian mythology, and I don't think that there's enough games that are about it. So I am super stoked about this one, and I am so glad that it made the top 10. I am a little bit disappointed that it's so low on the list, though. But that said, Ankh, Gods of Egypt is number 9. At number 8, we've got Frostpunk, based off of the video game of the same name, and very famously, the same company who made the Frostpunk video game also made this War of Mine. So apparently the video game is really good, but essentially this is a post-apocalyptic world and you're trying to survive and help or hurt your colonists and all that kind of stuff. It does sound kind of interesting because you can view the people and the resources kind of interchangeably, and it's like, are you going to help them? Are you going to hurt them? Are you going to throw them to the wolves, so to speak? But it has a very much Dead of Winter type of vibe to it. I'm not sure how I feel about it personally, but reading about it, it seems like it'll be kind of interesting, and so we'll just have to see where it goes, at least for me personally. Frostpunk, either way, is number 8. At number 7, we've got Creature Comforts, which is just an adorable little game that's about making a very comfortable little den. The idea is that you play through a year and you are sending out family members of your furry friends to go and collect food so that you can store it for the winter. There's a lot of mechanics at work here, ranging from drafting to dice rolling to card playing to some minor catch-up mechanics and all sorts of other different stuff. It does look very interesting, not to mention it is absolutely adorable. It is by far the most adorable game on this list, but that said, I had never heard of it. I'm not familiar with it, and still it sounds interesting, so I might give it a try when it comes out. Creature Comforts is number 7. At number 6, we've got Oath, Chronicles of Empire and Exile. It's quite a mouthful, but this seems like the most intriguing game on the entire list, and I'll tell you why. It sounds like it's meant to be a legacy game that is also not a full-fledged legacy game. That is to say, you do play through multiple games that do affect one another, and what you can do in further games and change the core of the actual game as far as what you're attempting to do, as well as resources available and all that kind of stuff. But you can also reset. you can also play with a different group because there's not necessarily an ongoing story. And so I am super intrigued to see exactly how this works. I am very excited to see this come out. I'm really excited to see more reviews about it, but it just sounds absolutely fascinating and a unique spin on the whole idea of the legacy gameplay. So that said, Oath, the Empires and Exiles is number 6. At number 5, we've got Nemesis Lockdown. Finally, at long last, we have a single solo standing expansion for Nemesis. That said, the idea is that you're on a new base and you are still in the same sort of scenario of semi-cooperative, kind of spooky type sci-fi gameplay, but the idea is that you have added a lot of relatively unique mechanics, such as different floors, different lighting capabilities, new different cards, and all sorts of different stuff, not to mention new alien species and a bunch of other different things. It's great to see Nemesis getting an expansion like this that is standalone, that you don't need this massive box for, because the fact is this is really tough to get. So having Nemesis Lockdown be something that you don't need the base game for alone makes it well worthy in my personal opinion. But that said, overall, according to the people, it is number 5. At number 4, we've got Darwin's Journey. I had talked about this before in one of my other videos, and I am happy to say that I did end up backing it. So this is a game that is all about Darwin's journey across the Galapagos Islands on his trip aboard the HMS Beagle when he was studying all the different animals and coming up with his theory of natural selection upon which evolution is based. And so I'm excited because this is a more complex game compared to other things that are related to this sort of journey that we have seen. We've seen a lot of games that are about Darwinism and the idea of genes and genotyping and all that kind of thing, but this one really seems more like a highly strategic game in that you've got a lot more pieces, you've got a lot more mechanics, you've got some workers, you've got card playing, you've got all sorts of different stuff thrown in there, and it just seems like it's a lot of fun. It seems like it's going to be a great game. I'm personally really excited about it as well. Darwin's Journey is number 4. At number 3, we've got Endless Winter Paleo-Americans. This is a game that I had never heard of up until seeing it on this list, and it's so high on the list. I had no idea, but essentially reading about it, it sounds a lot like something like Age of Empires or things like that, where the idea is that you're starting out with a small tribe in the Stone Age, and you're kind of working up towards higher and higher levels of basically being able to survive. It has some remnants of things like Power Grid, the first Sparks in terms of theme and stuff like that, but it also does seem like it's more complex in terms of what you have to do mechanically. And again, people are clearly very excited about it. I think it looks kind of interesting. I'll keep my eye on it a little bit, but it didn't really strike me as something that I'm like, yes, about. But that's just me, and either way, it is number 3. At number 2, we've got ISS Vanguard. Apparently, this is basically, I don't know what deity's gift to board gaming, but everybody is super stoked on this game that I had never ever heard of. But this is a sci-fi game that is scenario driven, and the idea is that you are playing on the ship, the ISS Vanguard, and going around trying to find different things throughout all of these various scenarios. One of the unique things about this is the sheer number of different characters that you can play as. I don't know how well that's going to be balanced. I hope that it's going to be good. This is certainly something I'm going to be keeping my eye on, because not only is it sci-fi, but I absolutely love scenario-driven games as well. Overall, it seems like it's really cool. It's got some interesting stuff to it, or at least it sounds like it. But again, I'm not super familiar, but it sounds like it'll be cool. So we'll see. ISS Vanguard overall came in at number 2. At number 1, we've got Frosthaven. That's right. It's the successor to Gloomhaven, and I will admit, I backed this one. I did do that because I love me some Gloomhaven. And the fact is that from what I read and what I saw on the Kickstarter campaign and what I've seen from the updates, it is bigger, better, stronger, faster, everything compared to Gloomhaven. But that said, I kind of don't like the fact that it is so ridiculously popular. I get it. Gloomhaven is a great game. Frosthaven is probably going to be another great game, but we already know that. Everybody knows that. And so that's why I kind of don't like lists like this where we have people voting and all this kind of thing, because obviously it's a popularity contest. That's literally the entire point. But that means that with something like Frosthaven, it blew everything else out of the water. It had so many more votes than the next one that it wasn't even a contest, essentially, at one point. But regardless, it still seems like it's going to be a great game. I really am excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to trying it out, putting it on the table, especially as a successor sort of to Gloomhaven. Frosthaven came in at number 1. Well, everybody, that's going to be it for me. I hope that you enjoyed this review of the top 10 most anticipated board games of 2021 as voted by the Board Game Geek users. Again, this is a very unique list in that I didn't make it. It has nothing to do with me. Certainly there are games on this list I'm excited about. There are other games on this list that I'm not really excited about, and there are games that are not on the list that I wish were. And of course, I want to hear what you guys have to think in that exact context. What do you think are good? What do you think are bad? What do you think got snubbed? What do you think got overhyped? Let me know in the comments. And again, the list itself is available in the description. I linked it down there so that you guys can take a look at all of the different categories with all of the different voting results. Literally thousands upon thousands of voters came in to do this sort of people's choice most anticipated games thing. So it's kind of exciting to see regardless. But that said, as always, if you haven't done so already, please take a look at my various social media pages where you can interact with myself and my channel in a whole bunch of really fun ways. And as is usual now, unfortunately, we're still fighting COVID. It's going down. We're winning, sort of, but we still have to keep everything going. Stay safe, stay alert, keep up with what you're doing. I hope that you all are okay, and let's kick this thing in the butt, because we totally can, and I know that we're going to be able to. With that said, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.